today. Can Francis Ngannou go into the PFL smart cage and make Ariel Helwani a happy man? Make his family a more satisfied and happy family for all of that PFL sweet cash? Also, what about AJ McKee? Will he ever be a true star outside of the UFC? And Cris Cyborg. Cris Cyborg has crawled out of the dark place that she's been in because she clearly isn't happy at the PFL, and she will face the new bulldozer that is Larissa Pachenko. All of this and more on today's. Also, wait a minute, what about Johnny Eblen and Fabian Edwards? All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy Matt, and we are here to discuss a little bit of PFL, Bellator news. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going down this weekend. Big Frank the Tank, Francis Ngannou, the lineal heavyweight champion of MMA, if that's how you look at him. Because right now it looks like the real champ might be Tom Aspinall, but shout out to Jones. Nevertheless, Francis Ngannou is stepping into the smart cage of the PFL with Hanan Ferreira, of course at heavyweight, of course for some sort of a super fight PFL belt. And we here to get off into it. So, man, the PFL has been trying their best to hype this fight up. They've tried their best to really make people really buy into this. But the reality of this is PFL was going to lose this battle, okay? And here's what I'm saying. When Francis Ngannou first signed the PFL, it was a good tactic by the PFL to go ahead and let him go into boxing. Now, at the time, it seemed like a completely ludicrous and crazy tactic because you're like, bro, he's going to go out there, he's going to get waxed by Tyson Fury. However, when you look at it, they rolled the dice, they gambled, and they won. Because had he left the UFC and went right into fighting Hanan Ferreira, he probably more than likely would have beat Hanan Ferreira, and, you know, that would have been that, and Francis Ngannou would kind of be on the shelf for a while until he was able to enter into a boxing fight. And, you know, that would have been that. I mean, I guess either way it would have been big for the PFL when you look at it, but their gamble of letting him go out there and box Tyson Fury first paid off. He goes out there. A lot of people argue that he beat Tyson Fury, but he definitely held his own, put on a good show, outstanding fight, but he loses via decision. However, at that time, that's when the PFL should have leaned in and tried to force Francis to fight Hanan Ferreira at that moment. Of course, Francis Ngannou wasn't going to because he was calling the shots. So he wouldn't get ready to do that. And now we're where we're at because he got brutally knocked out by Anthony Joshua. And so now we're kind of here. Right now, the PFL, what can they do? Because when you look at it, this fight, it's sort of kind of big, but it's PFL. It's not getting the star-studded attention. You know what I'm saying? That a fight like this might get if you can picture it under the UFC umbrella. So with that being said, it's all on the line here for the PFL. You know what I'm saying? It's all on the line, and in a way it is sort of kind of for Francis Ngannou. Now Francis Ngannou, as Ariel Helwani will not let it die down that this happened, he's been paid. The man is set for life financially. Okay, so now that we spoke on that, he's going in there against Hanan Ferreira. And when you look at this, man, he's got to win this fight. You know what I'm saying? He's got to win this fight. If he loses this fight, It's not the worst thing in the world because Ariel is going to remind you that he's already completely paid. However, who else is he really going to fight in MMA in the PFL after that? Well, they going to, you know, they going to sign Junior Dos Santos to go in there and get waxed by him. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of other people he can fight if he loses. As well, his cachet is kind of low in boxing. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, I made a lot of money, but I'm donezo in MMA, and I'm also donezo in boxing, but I made a lot of money, which we all would rather have the money, but still, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm kind of beating around the bush, but I'm going to be honest. I'm a Francis Ngannou fan. I respect the man. I know he's gone through a lot of hard times over the last year. You know what I'm saying? If you kind of follow what's been going on with him and his family and, losses and death, things of that nature. Shout out to Francis Ngannou. I salute. But I'm going to say, I'm going to go it. I got Hannon Ferreira. You know what I'm saying? I got Hannon Ferreira. And I'm sorry, but Francis Ngannou has been out of MMA for a long time. And for those 2 boxing matches that he had, that was probably strictly nothing but boxing training. Why would he do any other kind of training? As well as what I just spoke about, coming off of a very tragic personal loss that you could tell, even though he didn't get emotional, like break down in tears, it was still affecting him as of a few months ago when he was on JRE, on Joe Rogan's podcast. So, and he's coming off of a catastrophic knee injury. And, historically, boxing is very taxing, but coming off of a really bad knee injury and going into 2 boxing training camps for 2 boxing fights is a lot less taxing on the knees, especially at heavyweight, because you don't have to do as much road work as you would at the lower weights to lose weight. That's tough. All of that wrestling practice and everything. This guy, Hannon Ferreira, is a submission artist as well. You know what I'm saying? So, Hannon Ferreira is a large man. He can knock out Francis Ngannou or he can submit him. And he's been in MMA. He hasn't taken hardly any time off, any substantial time, since he started winning PFL championships. He's got the bread. He's got the money to get the correct training partners. If there is such a training partner for Francis Ngannou, shout out to Francis. That's my guy. But I got to go along with Hannon Ferreira there. That is the main event of this PFL show. This is being billed as PFL Battle of the Giants, right? It says underneath, brace for impact. Brace for impact. You know what I'm saying? PFL trying to market on you. The main event, Francis Ngannou goes in there with Hannon Ferreira. How about the co-main event? Cris Cyborg steps in there. Women's featherweight world title on the line against Larissa Pacheco. All right, it's going to get sad again. I got Larissa Pacheco. Cris Cyborg is not happy at the PFL, okay? She's not happy with it. She wasn't happy anymore in Bellator. And they done tried it out multiple girls a couple of times for the Cyborg to keep beating their brains and keep giving them CTE. You know what I'm talking about? She was happy. I really feel like Cris Cyborg early on when Bellator was really trying, when she first went to Bellator, I think she was happy. I think she hated Dana White so much. I think she hated the way Dana White buried her while she was under the UFC umbrella, that when she went to Bellator, she was like, oh, this is cool. They willing to pay me? All right, cool. All right, they're not as good at promotion, but still, we can make it happen. But then Bellator gave up. Scott Coker developed bad habits or something because they gave up. Then they get bought out by the PFL. It was already bad for her towards the end of Bellator because, like I said, they kept trotting out the same 2 women for her to fight over and over again, trying to make us believe that, we wanted to see her versus Cat Zingano. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if they ever even fought. I don't think they did, but it was like, stop with the Cat Zingano stuff. You know what I mean? Bro, shout out to Cat Canzano because she was all right back in the day. But still, bro, she's not happy. You know what I'm saying? And she's kind of flirted with doing some boxing matches. They seem to be down for that, but still, she's not happy. They could never come to terms with this Kayla Harrison fight. I don't know what was going on with that. If you listen to Kayla Harrison, Cyborg didn't want the fight. You listen to Cyborg, Kayla Harrison didn't want the fight. I don't know what's going on either way. At the end of the day, bro, what's sad for Cris Cyborg is Cris Cyborg, if you really know the sport, you know she's a female legend. Female legend, bro. Straight up. Straight up. In the GOAT conversation for greatest female fighters of all time. I'm not saying she is the GOAT, but she's definitely most definitely in the conversation. It's only like 3 or 4 of them there. You know what I mean? It's only like 3 or 4 to choose from. She's definitely one of them. Bro, maybe only 2, maybe only 3. I don't know. Bro, here's the thing, dude. It's been rough on her when she left the UFC. Her career, her happiness, I think a lot of things would be a lot better for her as far as her legacy if Dana wasn't Dana and they didn't have their beef and didn't have their issues. You know what I'm saying? Because look at her right now. She'd be in the UFC. I'm assuming she would still be fighting. You know what I'm saying? She could have had a rematch, big major money rematch against Amanda Nunes. They could lock her in there with Kayla Harrison finally. You know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, it would have been very, very interesting. You know what I mean? But now those days, it's over. And I just don't really think she's in it anymore. And while she's still extremely talented, extremely good, Father Time catches up to everyone, even female fighters. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see this going well. I think Larissa Pacheco goes out there and is probably going to finish her. Straight up. I got Larissa Pacheco to go out there and finish the great Cris Cyborg. Then we have Johnny Eblen defending the middleweight championship against Fabian Edwards, brother of Leon Edwards. I got Johnny Eblen. And that's just what that is. Johnny Eblen is one of the few fighters in the PFL that it's like, bro, I really wish he was in the UFC because I'd love to see him at middleweight against a lot of UFC talent. I'd love to see him in there with Izzy. I'd love to see him in there with Dricus. Dricus versus Johnny Eblen. That would be a battle. Look at my face. Bro, Johnny Eblen versus Dricus du Plessis would be a battle. That would be a fight. You know, Johnny Eblen, man. I got him. No disrespect to Fabian Edwards, but I got Johnny Eblen. What else is on the main card? Another featherweight bout I'm not really too worried about. Then we got at lightweight, AJ McKee stepping into the smart cage against Paul Hughes. AJ McKee, very, very similar to me in a way to Cris Cyborg. AJ McKee, when he was on the come up, when he was, full of piss and vinegar, you know what I'm saying? Before he was really like a Bellator star. I think Bellator was all good. You're getting a few good checks from Bellator. Everything seems all right. They respect your father. It's all gravy. You know what I'm saying? It's all gravy, baby. But then you start to emerge as a star at featherweight and then at lightweight over in Bellator. You go out there and you defeat Pitbull. You know what I'm saying? For the title. At the same time, it's just there wasn't nobody left for him to fight but Pitbull. You know what I'm saying? Who else was he gonna fight? Pitbull's brother? Yeah, okay, there you go. The two Pitbulls. That's all he could fight. You know what I'm saying? There was nobody else. You know what I'm saying? And Bellator gave up. PFL comes knocking. They don't know what to do with him. Because there's just no stars for him. There's nobody there. And I think more and more, even though he's probably been paid well, handsomely by Bellator and probably by the PFL, I'm sure he's just like, bro, what am I doing? I'm wasting my prime years here dealing with these fools. He's still young, but still though, bro. All it takes is a bad knee roll in training, your knee's blown out, a bad fight, bad injury, and then it's like, how much have you taken out of yourself? He needs to be in the UFC. I got AJ McKee to go out there and get the win. Bellator is trying to promote this, but Bellator, they got this clown Don Davis. He's out here trying to compare This card with another one is Cohorts to UFC 300. I want a little bit of that pack that he got because that pack is fire. You know what I'm saying? He got that Don Davis smoking on that PFL pack. You know what I mean? Bro, stop. I'm willing to go along with a lot of the Francis Ngannou talk, and he's the greatest heavyweight in the world, and he's calling, Don Davis is calling out Dana White, calling out John Jones, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, bro, it just is what it is, man. I don't care what, the mainstream MMA media and the Ariel Hawanis and MMA fighting everybody tries to spin to you because they just love to be social justice warrior for Francis Ngannou. But at the end of the day, bro, the major league is the major league, bro. There's NBA, there's NFL, there's MLB. That's what it is. We ain't worry about nobody else underneath. They just feeder leagues. That's what it is, bro. So yeah, you might be what they're saying, what they're introducing you as is the lineal heavyweight champion. But if you ain't in the UFC, you ain't really there. So that's what it is. I will be checking out this card though. We'll see how it goes down. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully Big Frank the Tank Francis Ngannou can go out there and get the win. But I have a feeling that my pick is Hannon Ferreira to go out there and I'm gonna be real. I think he finishes Francis. I think he stops Francis. I think he stops Francis. I think Larissa Puchenko stops Cris Cyborg. So we will see how all of that goes down. Once again, I do want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I check you next time. Peace.